Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I bring you a new one. Another one. This is the Archmage, and it also, like yesterday's build, is also based on a build or a character archetype from Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning or Return of Reckoning, whichever one you prefer. But it is based on one of the classes over there. And it's something that I really enjoyed playing over there, but I wanted to bring it here and see if it was possible. Now, this is a Sorcerer build. It was the only one that I think truly fit with it. And it's kind of different from the typical healer type setup. It does have the capabilities of being a healer, a damage dealer, all kinds of stuff. You guys will see it here in a second. But let's go ahead and take a look at the build. As you can see, we are a High Elf Sorcerer. We have 64 points into Magicka, and we have 37k max Magicka with a 19k max health, 17k max stamina, and then we have 972 mag recovery. It gets a lot higher. 423 health recovery, 677 stamina recovery. Those two not so much necessary. The stamina recovery does come in helpful for things like recovering after a dodge roll or blocking attacks, that kind of stuff. So it is necessary to have a somewhat of a stam recovery. Our spell damage is coming in at 2194 with a 38% spell critical, 15 weapon damage, 22% weapon critical. We do have a 16k spell resist with a 14k, almost 15k physical resist, 1320 critical resistance. That's the standard now for all critical resist. Everyone starts with that. Excuse me. I had a hiccum burp. Moving on, we are running the Thief Medicine for the higher crit chance. We do have Bound Aegis and Minor Resolve, giving us a little bit of extra resistance. The Bound Aegis does give us higher max Magicka. We also have Tristat food running. And then moving on to our equipment. Now this is where things get interesting, because in Warhammer, healers don't they don't heal the same way as they do here, in a sense. It's because over there you have to target players, so you don't have that same kind of tool. But they're also not just healers, they're also damage dealers in the same time as they are healers. Excuse me. It's really weird how it works. So I wanted to throw some interesting stuff in here. First off, I did add the Alumbris monster set. This is a great set. It gives a 1-piece max magic, a 2-piece. When you deal flame or shock damage, you have a 33% chance to summon a meteor shower or a lightning storm. They should say, it does a storm effect of that damage type. So in this case, it'll do lightning damage majority of the time, which is 2740 damage to all enemies within 4 meters every second for 5 seconds. The effect can occur every 8 seconds. It's really nice to use a set like this when you're at ranged most of the time. You can get an area of effect on enemies and targets and things like that really easily. Next up, we are running Combat Physician. One of the things that's really nice is you do have a lot of protection type buffs and things like that in that game, and this kind of adds to that element. So 2-piece adds max Magicka, 3-piece spell crit, 4-piece spell crit, and then the 5-piece. When you critically heal yourself or an ally, you grant your target a damage shield that absorbs X amount of damage for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Now, in this case, it's a 5k shield. Not everyone is going to have a 5k shield with this, because the amount of shield strength is based off of something in your CP. So, yeah, that's why it's so high. Next up is our final set, and that is the Archmage set itself. Now, This one plays, like, you notice I'm not using any healer sets themselves. A lot of people are going to say, you're not using any healer set. Well, Combat Physician technically is. But this set is really good for what it does. 2-piece mag recovery, 3-piece spell damage, 4-piece max magicka, and the 5-piece. When you complete a fully charged heavy attack, you gain an additional 506 magic recovery for 10 seconds. The Archmage set is from Cyrodiil. It is a PvP set. But when I saw what it did, I was like, that is really good for a healer, because you do a lot of heavy attacks anyways, and that's a 506 recovery no matter what. So this works great in PvE, it works great in PvP. So I like the combination there. And that's the 3 sets we're running. Traits, very similar to what I normally run. 2 invigorating on the chest and the legs here. This is to give you more recovery rate. I know a lot of people say, but Sherman, it's only 16 points per piece. Together with any other recovery things you have, it does make the amount of recovery you get a lot larger. Okay, because of the way that the like 10%, 20% modifiers in the game work, that 32 points actually grows to like 100 and something points. It's crazy how it works. So on the helm, we are running a heavy helm with reinforced. This is going to give you the largest amount of resistance in all your body pieces, because you are running a 5-piece light here with a medium shoulders heavy helm. And again, this is going to give you the largest amount of resistance, or increased resistance in your survivability, so both spell and physical. And so having that 1-piece reinforced really does help. You don't have to necessarily run this if you're doing nothing but PvE. If you're doing PvP, I would suggest the reinforced. Onto the smaller pieces, we are running Divines with max magicka enchants. This is to give you that higher amount of max magicka, and the Divines allows your Munda Stones to work a lot better. Alright, going back to the bigger pieces here, or the 3 large pieces, you are going to run Tri-Stat enchants. This is to maximize your pools, so you have greater amount of resources. One of the biggest problems I always see, especially for new players and existing players, is when you're in a trial or you're in a dungeon, you're constantly running out of stamina because you're blocking so much, or you're dodge rolling so much out of circles, or you're sprinting along, and you're always running out of the resource that you need for those 3 activities. So it's one of the reasons why I like using Tri-Stat food. That 17k on a magic person pretty much will last you a whole dungeon. You really don't have any reason not to use it. So moving on to the jewelry now, we are running 2 Tri-Rune rings, again to maximize our pools, so we get that higher magicka, stamina, and health. And then on top of that, we are running 2 spell damage on the rings. This is to maximize not just our damage potential, but also our healing capabilities. And then on our necklace, we are running an infused, reduced cost, spell cost enchantment. This actually is great because the Archmage set itself is going to give you a lot of recovery. So you can actually compensate with this, which is 324 points off your cost of spells. And this saves you so much magicka. It's not even funny. A lot of people will say 324. You're not going to really notice. You're going to notice, especially when you have things that are costing like 4k normally, and all of a sudden it's now like 3,600 and something. So it's like, wow. All right. And then moving on to our weapons. Both the weapons we are using are infused staves. There's a good reason for this. We are using, in one, we are using a weapon damage enchant. Again, increasing our spell damage and even our weapon damage in this case allows us to use other spells as well, or other abilities, such as Echoing Vigor, if we want a stamina heal, Circle of Protection from the Fighters Guild, or even Caltrops if we want to add a AoE of penetration debuff. We can actually use that, and that 452 weapon damage does apply to the damage output of those things and the healing capability of those things. So next up, we do have Absorb Magic on the back bar, and on the back bar you're going to be doing mostly light attacks and heavy attacks, so it comes in handy when you have this proccing throughout the 3-second charge of that. So you're going to heavy attack, it's going to proc on the first hit, and on the last hit of the tick of damage it's going to proc again, so it's going to give you a 461 on the beginning of the heavy attack and 461 at the end of the light attack. It's really cool how it works with this, and it doesn't always necessarily work that way. I'm gonna say that now because it depends on the time frame in which your heavy attack takes. So it's a little weird. All right, so that's the gear that we're using. Moving on now to our skills. Now, I'm going to mention this again, as I always do. Make sure you unlock all your class passives. The reason for this is because you never know what skills you're going to be using in, end game, or in dungeons, or in PvP, or in PvE. Making sure you have all your passives unlocked for everything that you use is really important. When I say everything that you use, I mean all your class abilities, your weapon abilities, armor abilities, world skills, guild skills, even alliance war skills. Some of these things come in handy in the long term. Racial wise, you're going to want to make sure you get all your racial passives anyways. But class passives really important because, like I tell people, you don't know if you're going to use crystal frags or not. So having the passives here available for when you do use it makes it important for when you do use the spells. And so just having it unlocked is going to be good for you. Alright, now going over the skills we have on our bar. Now these are the skills that I suggest running. You don't have to. So starting with the first skill, we have Shock Reach. Now this is a great ability. It deals shock damage up front. It deals damage over time. Really good for just ranged damage, period. Next we have Liquid Lightning. Another great ability. Does damage over time, does area of effect damage and stuff. And the nice thing is that when you have Shock Reach, or even your Wall of Elements, you'll be able to keep up your weapon damage enchant non-stop. Not for Liquid Lightning. But the nice thing about Liquid Lightning is it is a synergy. So somebody can activate this to get resources back. Really nice in group play, even in Cyrodiil play, comes in handy. Even Battlegrounds. So then we have our Unstable Wall, which is a damage over time again. As you can see, 3 damage over time abilities. Sorcs are really good for damage over time. Archmage in the other game, that's what they use a lot, is a lot of dot damage. So this plays really well into that same aspect. They do have a lot of single target damage as well. Next up we have Hardness Magicka. This is our shield. This is the light armor shield. And the reason I chose this is because of how it works. So this one gives you a 10k damage shield for 6 seconds, and then while active, whenever a shield absorbs damage, you restore Magicka. This is another way for you to keep that high resource return with doing damage. So really nice. Next up we have our Bound Aegis. This is a really great ability. A lot of people don't realize how good it can be. So this one, protect yourself with a powerful Oblivion, with the power of Oblivion, creating a pseudo Daedric mail that increases your block mitigation by 40% for 3 seconds. While slotted, your max magic is increased by 8%, and you gain minor resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 2974. The reason why this is so good is when you activate it, and I want to repeat this so people understand. That's the Daedric armor right there. Now, people say it's only 3 seconds. 3 seconds for a major block in a dungeon against a boss or against a trial boss. 3 seconds is all it takes, and you're dead. So, having that ability to block 40% of the incoming damage is fantastic. Alright. Excuse me. Moving on to our last and final ability on our bar. This is Absorption Field. This is a great ability. One, when you cast it, it creates a magic suppression field for 12 seconds, removing and preventing all area of effect abilities from occurring in the area. So this stops anyone from casting AoEs. Even in dungeons, does that. Enemies within the globe are stunned while players will be silenced rather than stunned. So, either way. And it heals people. It's a healing kind of thing. And it's only 200 ultimate, which isn't too bad. You will build ultimate with this build really fast. So, alright, moving on to our back bar, where we have a resto staff, by the way. So, you do have a lightning staff and a resto staff. Kind of plays really interesting. And on the back bar, we have first ability, Healing Springs. Great ability. It does an AoE, area of effect heal, and heal over time. So it does a burst heal at the beginning, a small one, and then a heal over time. And then it restores magicka for each person you heal. So another great, and every time it heals them, it gives you magicka. So it's a really great kind of like resource recovery heal. Next ability we have is Combat Prayer. Now, you can use either morph of this depending on what situation you're in. If you're in PvE, I would suggest Combat Prayer. In PvP, I would suggest the other one. The other one's going to give minor resolve to your group mates for like 30 seconds. It's ridiculous. But this one does a burst heal. It also grants minor berserk and minor resolve. So this one increases allies' damage done by 5% and their physical resistance. Oh, this one gives resolve too. Never mind. Great, either way. So, and this one lasts for 8 seconds. The other one lasts, I think, 15. So it's like you get a better version of that heal with that minor resolve. So really good for PvP, and especially in places like battlegrounds and such. It's really good. Alright. Last but not least here, we have Power Surge. This is an interesting healing thing. So if you don't know how this works, this one you get minor brutality, or major brutality and major sorcery, increasing weapon and spell damage by 20% for 33 seconds. But while activating a critical heal causes the ability to heal you and your allies around you. And this effect can occur once every 3 seconds. So what happens is anytime you heal and you critically heal somebody, it'll heal you and everyone else around you. So it's like you get this really good burst heal, which is really nice. So I do like it a lot. Next up, we get Boundless Storm. This is an AoE, area of effect, resistance buff. Now, this will heal, or not heal, it deals damage to your enemies around you, and then on top of that, it gives you minor resolve. But it also gives you Major Expedition, which allows you to have better maneuverability while in combat. So it's not so much that you're going to be doing this, and healing, standing still. It allows you to move real fluently for a certain amount of time, as you can see, which is really good for a healer to have that kind of movement capability. Alright, again, we also have the Bound Aegis here. This will give us that 8% max magicka, that minor resolve, which is, again, really nice. And then our final ability here, and this is a toss-up, there's a lot of different things you can use here, is Aggressive Horn. A lot of healers like to use this in PvE. I prefer using it in both PvE and PvP. But it depends on which version of content I'm playing in, what version of the Warhorn I'll use. Either I'll use this to give my group the 10% max stamina and magicka, plus the major force to do increased critical damage for PvE, or I use the other morph for PvP. It really depends on your playstyle. The other ones that I would suggest using is things like Greater Storm Atronach. Even the Energy Overload's really good. In the in the Mage's Guild, you do have things like Ice Comet, which is a great damage over time plus CC. You have the Sejic Order, Temporal Guard, which is a minor protection. Yeah, but that's, I mean, even the support skill, Reviving Barriers, really good in PvP or PvE. So, you got a lot of really interesting play with this build. And that is the skills, my friends. Moving on now to our CP. Again, I'm using my universal CP setup. I like this setup because it like, I don't have to change anything. Like, I don't have to, like, get out of a dungeon. Like, every time I go to a dungeon, I gotta reset my CP. Every time I go to do PvP, I gotta reset my CP. I just leave it alone, and it works out really well. So, starting with the red tree, we have 56 on the Ironclad. This reduces your damage from direct damage attacks by 20%. We do have 18 in the Spell Shield. This increases your spell resistance by 1729. Moving on here to the next red tree, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces damage over time from damage over time effects by 13%. 20 into Light Armor Focus. This increases spell resistance by 1900. And then 43 into Hardy and Elemental Defender. Now this reduces physical poison disease damage by 10%, and this reduces Flame, Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 10%. Moving on to the final red tree, we have 40 in the Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 16%. This is how you can get that combat physician to give a 5k shield to your allies. 19 in a Quick Recovery, increasing your healing received by 5%. All really good things. Moving on over here to the green tree, we have 40 in the Warlord, reducing your break free cost by 16%. 16 in the Sprinter, reducing your sprint cost by 10%. 16 in the Bashing Focus, reducing your bash cost by 16%. And then moving on over here to the middle green tree, we have 75 in Arcanist, increase your mag recovery by 14%. 43 in the Tenacity. This increases your stamina, your magic and the stamina attacks of your fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. You actually get a 40% return on your resources because of the Resto Staff. Passive. Anytime you deal a heavy attack with a Resto Staff, you get 30%. This is another 10. So that's really nice on the return of resources in light armor. Moving on. We have 40 into Tumbling, reducing your dodge roll cost by 16%. 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 10%. And then moving on to the final blue trees. 43 in the Blessed. This increases healing done by 10%. 56 in the Elfborn, increases your critical damage and critical healing by 20%. And 56 in the Elemental Expert. This increases Flame, Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 12%. So the shock and magic damage is what you're really looking at here, because Resto Stabs deal magic damage, shock deal, or lightning stabs deal shock damage. That extra 12% plus the extra 5 you get for being a Sorc, that's a 17% increase on the shock damage. Really nice. Moving on over here, we have 35 in the Staff Expert. This increases the light and heavy attacks, your restoration and destruction stabs deal by 20%. Sorry about having to clear my throat so much. Master at Arms, 40 points. This increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. Mostly just your light attacks are direct damage with this build. So, and then moving over here, we don't have anything but 40 in the Thaumaturge, and this increases your damage over time effects by 16%. And that is pretty much it for the CP. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to see, you know, Sherman, how does this build work? Well, I'm going to show you. So we're going to take it over here into the Depths of Malatar. And I was asked yesterday, why do I use the Depths of Malatar? Why am I not showing this in any of the newer dungeons? The reason I'm showing in the Depths of Malatar is, one, it is a DLC dungeon. So it is set to being at, the players being at 300 CP or higher, even I wouldn't say even for normal mode, but normal mode definitely requires you to have a little bit more CP or survivability or tools to show its capability, even in normal mode, which is what I'm in. So we're going to go in here, we're just going to show off this a little bit. And it's just to basically show you how it works. So with everything, buffs first. I'm going to go ahead and get my heals going. I'm going to go ahead and pop my shield here. And you notice how I keep up my buffs no matter what. Even when I flip bars, I'm constantly casting my buffs, and that's mainly because of the and even my heals. It's just to keep the stuff going. So and I am also heavy attacking while I'm doing this stuff. So you guys, just so you know, the heavy attack with the lightning staff does AoE damage. So it's really good for that. Like if you, even when you're targeting one character, like you're gonna get that. And you can see that Elombris does go off quite a bit, and just deals a decent amount of damage. So it's like I said, it's a really nice set for that. And I am doing a lot of heavy attacks, so I can keep my recovery rate coming in a lot with this build. Because, again, that high recovery rate is really important. So here we are at the boss. And I'm gonna stand here. I know it sounds crazy, but I am just gonna stand here, and there's a reason for that. I want you to see how much healing. So this thing can actually dish out a lot of healing. And I haven't even used a potion. I just did. But that's just so you can see its capabilities. So. Alright. But that's pretty much it for the build, guys. That's how it works. It's really interesting that it does that so well. I really like it. It's really good also in PvP for group play and small battles. Even in Zergs in some cases it can be really good. But that's it. I mean, that's the build. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for the build, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about the phone call. It does happen. And I want to go ahead and close this out, so you guys know what's coming next. If you like this video and you like this build, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, go ahead and subscribe if you want to. And also make sure that when you do subscribe, you hit that notification bell to be notified when I do post new videos. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.